Hi guys, how you doing? And today we're going to be making a blown up tank, and for that you're going to need this, and one of these, or you can use anything you like really, Panzer, anything you like. Okay, so here we go. So you can buy these tea lights anywhere. You need to strip that down so it's nice and thin like so. Now make sure you cut out the bottom of your tank. Now I've gone for a large wide section because I need to get probably 2 lights in there later on, but first of all make sure you cut out on the upper hole the driver and the gunner areas, because we want light to come through there, and I've cut out the back panel as well because I'm going to be doing it like it's been blown out. Now the idea is the shells hit the side of the tank and exploded out the other side. But you can do whatever effect you like. That's just what I'm going for because I want to create as much damage as possible. Now I've also done on the turret a shell going through there, but also make sure you cut out the commander's hatch and the 2 pins that hold the turret to the upper hull. So there you go. That's actually looking spiffy now. Okay, so the idea is that because we've wrecked the rim of the hole that the turret connects to, we're going to be getting a really lovely effect when the smoke is bellowing out. So here we have our light. Make sure you glue it in. Make sure you test it as well, because sometimes they don't always work. But make sure you glue it into the bottom section. Now it sits just flush above below the wheels, so when the tracks are on it'll look perfect, and it's a really nice bright light. Make sure you always dry fit everything, just don't glue it in there, because you can have all sorts of errors. So the light looks really good coming through the holes, and that's what we want. Now we're going to dry fit the light to make sure that the upper hole section fits on nicely so we can put the turret on. So make sure, yet again, dry fit everything before you do it. It really does help. Okay, so here we have our tank, and it's looking absolutely spiffy. I really like it. Now you can imagine a Panzer or a Tiger would look just as amazing. But I've gone for a Sherman because I expect I'm going to have a lot of Shermans blowing up. So once the light's in, once you're happy, you can decide whether you want to add another light. And here we've added the tracks in, and you can see the light glowing through it already. It looks absolutely brilliant. And when that's on a battlefield, they're going to look something exceptional. So when you look at tracks tend to go really floppy and loose when the tension's taken out of them. So play around with that. Look for reference on Google, because you'll find tons and tons of stuff out there. Because you want this to look a little, as realistic as possible, but also so it looks really cool on the battlefield. And everything just comes together really, really nicely. Okay, so for this I've painted it up. I've used Miniature Sewage Green, and I've also used AK Interactive's acrylic Chromewise tank interior. Now this is really good stuff. It gives you that cream look that you see on a lot of the tanks. I've used Raven Black for the tracks, and I've added all my decals on there. It's important that you add the decals on before you start chipping, and that's what we're going to be doing next. As you can see, I like to point a lot. Okay, so now we're going to be doing our chipping effect, and for that I used Scorched Red from Minotaur, I think it is. But make sure you paint the interior of your tank black before you do so, because what you don't want is to see the ugly white parts and the grey parts through the holes. You want it to look as dark as possible, and the light will look awesome, as you can see there. Because obviously when it goes up in flames, it's all going to be scorched to the inside. So that's what you're looking for. I can take a breath now. Okay, so now we're going to do our chipping effect. Now you're going to say, why are you doing it red? Well, red is the undercoat for me. And when we come to add the silver and we wash that all back to mute it all, it will make sense. So here we have our red. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Now for this, I'm going to be using gunmetal metal from Vallejo Game Range, and I just use a sponge to get that beautiful effect all over the tank. Look at that, it's like Debbie McGee's here, isn't it? Just like gesturing with her hands and stuff with Paul Wussy's face. Okay, so here we're going to be doing some washing. This is where I take a brown and a black wash, mix them together for that depth and darkness, and I use a cotton bud just to clean it up afterwards, and just leave enough on the tank to create some shadow. As you can see here, it just mutes everything back, and that's what you want. You want to get that lovely effect. Okay, so now we're going to be doing some Awesome scorching effects. And this is just by dry brushing. Just a little bit of paint on the brush away from the hole and upwards, and it will look gorgeous. And again here, you've got to think about the scorching effects that an explosion would create. And you just brush away from the hole with little paint, not too much, just to give that effect. And it'll come out quite nicely. I've used it on a few times on different things, and then I just tend to go back with a little bit of metal and just highlight it and make it look pretty. Okay, so here you can do this again. Now, I tend to use a cotton bud as well, just to take away the excess, because think about it, you'd still see some of the green in there, and if it's just painted black, a strong thick black, it just wouldn't look right. So you need to think about those sort of things, and you also need to do it around all the burn holes and stuff like that. And you can see it here. There we have a lovely scorched effect. Now we're now looking at putting in our cotton. Now this stuff you can find in pillows, you can find it in toys, stuffed toys, but you can also buy it from shops as well. Just be careful if you rip it out of pillows that your mum doesn't find out, and don't refer her to this video because I do not want to get into trouble. Okay, so for this you need to paint it black, not too much, but just enough to give the effect that that there's a black streaking effect across it, and leave some white and grey areas as well, because in fires you tend to get a mixture of black and grey smoke. Now you just have to fit this in to the holes like the main turret, and for me it's the engine compartment. And then you just glue that into place. Now I've gone ahead and I've done all the smoke that I want coming out for the moment. I'll probably add a little bit more in those holes at some point, but for now, for this demonstration purpose, it's brilliant. Okay, so from the driver's and the gunner's seat, there's smoke bellowing out. You'll also see that the command hatch as well has got smoke pouring out of it as well. And we've got a nice Don King effect of smoke pouring out of the turret section and the engine compartment. Someone said it looked like a Don King tank the other day. It just made me laugh. So that's a really nice effect. Now I think now we're going to move on to some weathering, but that's even starting to look good. That would look good on a battlefield on its own. Okay, so for this we're going to be using AK Interactive's weathering liquid. Now I'm a huge fan of this stuff. It is just beautiful, and if you've never used it before, this you'll never look back. You just paint it on, take your cotton bud, and then just clean up the areas that you want to clean up. And then when that's done, you're going to love it. Trust me, it'll be absolutely amazing. When it dries, it's just like weathering powder, but won't come off. And it just looks so cool. So here we have our finished burnt up tank. And I've got to say, I had a real good time making it. I hope you've enjoyed the video and it helps you. I'm sorry if I've speeded through this talking wise. But I didn't really sort of work out the length of this video. But the light effect looks absolutely astonishing. It'll look great on a battlefield. Now, I've done about 3 or 4 of these now. And they're going to look really cool when I have my tanks destroyed. So, guys, you be good. You be safe. And I'm going to see you in another episode of Warlord Wednesday. You be good. Take care.